While I was asleep, my son came into my room every night. The same boy I considered my pride and joy, not a traitor. I set up a camera and saw something I could never have imagined. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I woke up to find my reading glasses on the dresser again, not on the nightstand where I always left them, next to the lamp, beside the water glass I drank from every night, but across the room, leaning against the jewelry box that belonged to my late husband. The bookmark in my novel had jumped 3 pages ahead. This was the third time in 2 weeks. I carried the glasses downstairs, my fingers gripping the frames like evidence. The kitchen smelled faintly of burnt toast and cheap coffee. My son, Daniel, stood at the counter scrolling through his phone, still in his hoodie even though his shift at the auto shop started in an hour. He didn't look up when I entered. "Someone was in my room again last night," I said. "My glasses were moved. The book too. Mom, we've talked about this." His voice was calm, almost rehearsed. "Nobody goes into your room." I set the glasses on the table between us, then explain how they walked across the room by themselves. He finally looked at me, and there was something in his expression I couldn't name. Impatience, calculation. "Maybe you got up in the night and don't remember. You've been tired lately." I'd remember moving my own glasses. "That's exactly what worries me," he said softly, but the softness felt staged. "That you don't remember." The back door opened, and his girlfriend, Mia, walked in, bringing the damp morning air with her. She'd been out jogging, her gray t-shirt dark with sweat. She grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge and took a long drink, watching us over the rim. "Everything okay?" she asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. "Mom thinks someone's been in her room," Daniel said. "Not thinks, knows." I caught the glance they exchanged, quick, silent, loaded with meaning. My stomach tightened. I'd taught high school psychology for 25 years. I knew the signs of gaslighting. The goal is to make the victim doubt their own perception of reality. I'd written those words on the whiteboard 100 times. The irony wasn't lost on me. "After everything we've done for you, we just want to help," Daniel said. And something in the way he emphasized everything made my jaw clench. I thought of the $20,000 I'd given him last year when he said Mia's medical bills were piling up. Family helps family. That's what I believed when I let them move in. Temporary arrangement. Except temporary had stretched into permanent. And now, my own son was looking at me like I was losing my mind. If they were lying about small things, moved glasses, misplaced bookmarks, what else were they lying about? And why? 2 days later, the glasses were on the dresser again. I'd been meticulous the night before. Glasses on the nightstand, left side, next to the lamp. Bookmark on page 212 of the mystery novel I was reading. Water glass filled halfway, positioned exactly 2 inches from the lamp base. I even took a photo on my phone before turning off the light. Morning revealed the migration. Glasses by the jewelry box. Book opened to page 216. Bookmark gone. And the water glass. I studied it carefully. The level seemed lower than I remembered, just slightly, but enough to notice if you were looking. I spent the day alone. Daniel and Mia were both at work. Wouldn't be home until evening. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. Typed hidden camera's motion sensor into the search bar. The results multiplied across the screen, dozens of options, different sizes, different prices, different capabilities. I read reviews for an hour, learned about resolution, battery life, memory card storage, discovered that motion-activated cameras were common, affordable, legal to use in your own home. The paranoid had made them easy to buy. Around 3:00 p.m., I drove to an electronics store 2 towns over, far enough that I wouldn't run into anyone who knew me. Paid $95 cash for a camera, the size of a thumb drive. The young clerk barely looked at me, just processed the transaction and handed me the bag. Back home, I locked my bedroom door and examined my purchase. The camera could record for 6 hours on motion activation. It had a memory card slot and a tiny lens that captured surprisingly clear footage, according to the box. I tested different positions on the bookshelf behind the lamp, tucked into the closet door frame. Nothing worked. The angles were wrong, or the camera was too visible. Then I looked at the photo frame on my dresser, the one with 8-year-old Daniel grinning at me, his bicycle in the background, both of us covered in grass stains from his first crash. The frame was thick enough, deep enough. I removed the back, adjusted the contents, and positioned the camera behind the photo, angled toward the nightstand. From the front, you couldn't see it. The lens peeked through a tiny gap between the frame and the wall. Perfect view of the water glass, the lamp, the entire nightstand surface. I reassembled everything and waited. Tonight, the camera would watch what I couldn't, and tomorrow, I'd know if my fears were real or if I was truly losing my mind. Dinner that evening was quiet, too quiet. Daniel had picked up takeout on his way home. Cartons of lo mein and sesame chicken spread across the kitchen table. Mia sat across from me, scrolling through her phone, her nails tapping against the screen like a metronome. I pushed noodles around my plate, pretending to eat, while my mind replayed the setup upstairs, the photo frame hiding the camera, the tiny lens angled perfectly toward the nightstand. Evidence was coming. I just had to wait. "Mom," Daniel said suddenly, breaking the silence, "I've been thinking about what we talked about the other day. Have you made that appointment?" I looked up slowly. "What appointment?" "To get checked out. Your memory." His tone was gentle, but the words landed like stones. "We're worried about you." Mia set her phone down, her expression carefully neutral. "It's nothing to be ashamed of," she added. Lots of people your age start having issues. Issues. The word tasted bitter. I forced a smile. I'll think about it. Daniel's face brightened too quickly, relief flooding his features like a rehearsed performance. That's good, Mom. That's really good. We just want you to be healthy. Healthy. I thought about the water glass upstairs, the one I hadn't touched yet. About the way exhaustion had been creeping over me lately, heavier than normal, like swimming through mud. Of course, Mia said, her voice smooth. We're family. We look out for each other. I nodded and returned to my noodles, letting them believe I was capitulating. Let them think their gaslighting was working. The rest of the evening crawled past. They watched television while I sat in the living room pretending to read, the laugh track grating against my nerves. Around 10 o'clock, I announced I was going to bed. Daniel barely acknowledged me. Mia called out good night without looking away from the screen. In my room, I checked the camera. The red light blinked once, armed and ready. Motion sensor active. Memory card inserted. I straightened the photo frame one last time, making sure the angle hadn't shifted. Then I looked at the water glass on my nightstand. Same glass I'd used for years. Same routine every night. Fill it halfway. Drink before bed. Refill in the morning. A habit so ingrained I'd never questioned it. Tonight, I questioned everything. If someone was tampering with that glass, tonight would reveal it. And tomorrow, I'd know whether my son was protecting me or destroying me. Morning sunlight spilled across my bedroom floor, but I barely noticed it. My hands shook as I retrieved the memory card from the hidden camera and slid it into my laptop. The folder showed one video file, 6 hours and 18 minutes of recording. I opened it and began fast forwarding. Myself sleeping, shifting position at 11:12, rolling over at 12:03. Nothing unusual, just a woman in bed, unconscious, vulnerable. Then at 2:41 a.m., the door opened. I stopped the playback, dragged it back 10 seconds, pressed play at normal speed. The door swung inward slowly, carefully, making no sound. Hallway light spilled into the frame, creating a backlit silhouette. For one moment, I thought I wouldn't recognize who it was. Then he stepped forward enough for the camera to catch his profile. Daniel, my son. He moved to my bedside with practiced silence, his movements efficient and rehearsed. His right hand reached into his hoodie pocket and produced a small bottle, prescription-sized, amber-colored. He unscrewed the cap, tilted it over the water glass on my nightstand. 3 drops fell. 4, 5. He recapped the bottle, returned it to his pocket, then took something from his other pocket, a small spoon. He stirred the water in tiny circles, the spoon barely clinking against the glass. 38 seconds from door opening to door closing. Then he was gone. I sat frozen, staring at the pause screen. His face was partially visible in one frame, calm, focused, showing no more emotion than someone preparing coffee. This wasn't improvised. This wasn't a single desperate act. This was routine. I restarted the video, watched it again, then a third time, taking notes. Timestamp, duration, his movements, the bottle's size and color, the methodical stirring to ensure dissolution. Downstairs, I heard voices, Daniel and Mia, starting their morning routines. The smell of coffee drifted up through the heating vents. I had to go down there, had to sit across from them, had to eat breakfast and act as though I'd seen nothing, knew nothing, suspected nothing. I saved 3 copies of the video to different folders, then removed the memory card and hid it beneath old tax returns in my desk drawer. My legs felt shaky as I stood. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror, pale, exhausted, frightened, but I couldn't show any of that. In the kitchen, Daniel smiled warmly. "Morning, Mom. Sleep well?" I forced a smile back. Like a rock. My son had just poisoned me. The question wasn't how, but why. And how far was he willing to go? After breakfast, I stared at the water glass on my nightstand, the same glass Daniel had tampered with hours earlier. Clear, innocent looking, yet holding something that could erase my mind piece by piece. I needed proof, not just suspicion, not just video, hard evidence. In the bathroom, I locked the door and opened the cabinet, found an empty travel-sized shampoo bottle, washed it 3 times with hot water and soap, dried it carefully with a clean towel. Then, with hands that barely stopped shaking, I poured the water from my nightstand glass into the bottle, sealed it tight, wrapped it in a plastic grocery bag, and tucked it into my jacket pocket. When I came downstairs, Daniel was making lunch. "You're dressed nice," he said, his tone casual but his eyes sharp. "Going somewhere. Meeting an old friend," I lied smoothly. "Haven't seen her in months." "That's great, Mom," he said, smiling too easily. "You should get out more." I drove east toward the city, the bottle in my pocket like a ticking clock. Every mile felt heavier. My destination, a private lab I'd found online that offered water analysis, chemical, pharmaceutical, everything. The waiting room smelled like antiseptic and recycled air. A woman in a white lab coat approached, her badge reading Dr. Patel. "You need pharmaceutical testing on a water sample," she asked after I explained. "Yes," I said, voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I have reason to believe someone in my household is contaminating my drinking water. I need documentation of what's being added." Her expression shifted slightly, recognition, maybe concern. "We can run a comprehensive panel. Sedatives, antipsychotics, anything common. Standard testing takes 5 to 7 days. Urgent processing is 48 hours. "Urgent," I said. "How much?" $380. I counted out 400 in cash money I'd withdrawn last week under the pretense of paying a handyman. She labeled my sample, had me sign chain of custody paperwork, and said, "We'll call you when results are ready." Driving home, I felt the strange duality of purposeful action masking profound fear. My son was poisoning me. Each night I went to sleep, I was made unconscious by substances he administered. And until I understood the full scope of his plan, I had to keep drinking that water, keep playing the role of the confused mother, keep being his victim, while I built the case that would destroy him. 48 hours from now, I'd know what was in that glass. And then I'd know exactly what Daniel wanted from me. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a call from the lab. I gripped it so tightly my knuckles whitened. "Mrs. Carter," Dr. Patel said, her voice calm but edged with something heavier. "We've completed the analysis. Your water sample contained zolpidem, a sedative, and trace amounts of quetiapine, an antipsychotic. Both can cause extreme drowsiness, confusion, and memory impairment at low doses." I closed my eyes, the words sinking like stones. "How strong were the concentrations?" "Enough to knock out someone your size for 8 hours, she replied. "And the quetiapine?" "It mimics early dementia symptoms, disorientation, cognitive dulling." This wasn't accidental. Her tone softened. "Are you safe at home?" "I'm taking precautions," I lied. "I need the documentation first." She promised to email the full report and mail a certified copy. When I hung up, my hands trembled not from fear, but from clarity. Daniel wasn't trying to kill me. Not yet. He was trying to erase me piece by piece until I looked incompetent. Why? The answer came like a cold wind. Control. My house was worth nearly $500,000. My savings, another $150,000. If he could convince a court I was mentally declining, guardianship would give him everything. My independence, my money, my life. I stared at the emailed report, the clinical language spelling out betrayal in black and white. For a moment, grief eclipsed rage. This was my son, the boy who used to bring me wildflowers from the yard, who cried when he scraped his knee, who whispered, "I love you, Mom," before bed. Now he was poisoning me for profit. I wiped my eyes and straightened my shoulders. I wasn't powerless. I had the video. I had the lab report. And soon I'd have more. But evidence alone wasn't enough. I needed a strategy, a trap so airtight they couldn't wriggle free. That night, I drank from the water glass as usual, feeling the unnatural heaviness crash over me like a wave. My thoughts scattered, my limbs turned to lead. But before surrendering to the drugged sleep, I reminded myself, this is performance art. Every foggy morning, every confused question, every deliberate mistake, I'd make them believe their plan was working. Because when they filed for guardianship, I'd be ready. They thought they were turning me into a helpless old woman. In reality, I was building a case that would destroy them. And soon, I'd need more than evidence. I'd need allies. The next morning, I drove downtown to meet Ellen Brooks, an attorney specializing in elder law. Her office was small but orderly, the kind of space that radiated competence. You mentioned elder abuse on the phone, she said, shaking my hand. Tell me what's happening. I laid everything out, the video of Daniel entering my room at night, the lab report proving sedatives and antipsychotics in my water, the timeline of symptoms. Ellen watched the footage in silence, read the report carefully, then looked up, her expression grim. Mrs. Carter, what your son is doing isn't just financial manipulation. It's felony-level assault, possibly attempted murder if the doses increase. I don't want him dead, I said quietly. I want him stopped, and I want him to face consequences. Then we do this methodically, Ellen replied. We gather more evidence. Let him commit further acts. When he files for guardianship, and he will, we counter with everything. The court will involve law enforcement. He'll be arrested in the courthouse. How long? 3 to 4 weeks if we're strategic. I nodded slowly. I can manage that. But managing meant continuing the performance, drinking the drugged water, acting confused, letting Daniel believe his plan was working. So I did. Over the next 10 days, I perfected the role. I called him by the wrong name twice, asked what day it was 6 times in one afternoon, stood in the kitchen, pretending I couldn't remember where the coffee mugs were kept. Each mistake earned satisfied glances between him and Mia, small smiles they tried to hide. One evening, after dinner, I announced I was exhausted and heading to bed early. 8:30 was absurdly early, but I made a show of gripping the chair for support. Mom, are you feeling okay? Daniel asked, his voice dripping with concern that felt like poison. Just tired, I murmured. So tired lately. I shuffled toward the stairs, heart pounding not from weakness, but from rage held in check. Upstairs, I waited 20 minutes until I heard them moving in the kitchen. Then I opened my door silently, positioned myself in the dark hallway where their voices carried clearly. I pressed record on my phone and listened. She's declining fast, Daniel said. Another month, maybe 2, and we can file the paperwork. Mia's voice was quieter, but she's your mother. Mom's sitting on $500,000 in assets, Daniel snapped. This is our future, our only way out. I had just captured their motive in their own words, but I needed more enough to bury them legally before they buried me alive. The courthouse smelled faintly of polished wood and old paper, a scent that carried the weight of judgment. I arrived at 9:30 a.m., wearing my best navy suit, hair neatly pinned, posture straight. For weeks, I had played the role of a fading mother. Today, I was sharp, steady, and ready for war. Ellen walked beside me, her briefcase heavy with evidence, video files, lab reports, audio recordings, and a timeline so detailed it could choke any defense. Across the lobby, I saw them. Daniel in a tailored jacket he probably couldn't afford. Mia in a muted dress that tried to scream innocence. Their attorney, a man named Hendricks, hovered nervously. When Daniel's eyes met mine, confusion flickered. He had expected a frail woman, not this. "Mom, you have a lawyer?" he asked, voice tight. I met his gaze without blinking. "You'll understand why soon." At 10 o'clock sharp, we entered courtroom 3 billion. Judge Morrison presided, a woman with steel gray hair and a stare that could slice through lies. Hendricks began with his pitch. "Your Honor, we seek guardianship for Mrs. Carter due to cognitive decline. We have medical documentation, witness statements." Judge Morrison nodded. "Proceed." He presented Dr. Reynolds's notes, Mia's affidavit about my episodes, and even Mrs. Patterson, our neighbor, who testified she'd seen me lost on the street. Daniel looked smug. Mia squeezed his hand. Then Ellen stood, calm, precise, deadly. "Your Honor, what you're about to see will prove that Mrs. Carter's alleged decline was manufactured by the petitioners themselves." The courtroom screen flickered to life. The first video played. Daniel entering my bedroom at 2:41 a.m., adding drops to my water, stirring with a spoon. The timestamp glowed in the corner like a scarlet letter. Gasps rippled through the room. Ellen played 2 more clips different nights, same routine. Then she presented the lab report. Zolpidem and quetiapine detected in the water sample. Next, my blood test, results confirming those drugs in my system. Finally, the audio recording filled the room. "She's declining fast," Daniel's voice said. "Another month, and we can file the paperwork." Mia's whisper, "But she's your mother." Daniel's cold reply, "Mom's sitting on $500,000 in assets. This is our future." When the recording ended, silence hung heavy. Judge Morrison's jaw tightened. "Mr. Carter, Miss Hayes," she said, voice like iron. "Is that you in the video and on the recording?" Daniel swallowed hard. "Yes, but no buts," Morrison snapped. "This court denies the guardianship petition and refers this matter for criminal investigation immediately." 2 deputies stepped forward. Mia began to cry. Daniel's face turned to stone. I sat still, heart pounding not with fear, but with something sharper. Justice. They thought they were writing my ending. Today, I wrote theirs. And this story isn't over. It's only the beginning of their consequences. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my channel